Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for either showing up here live for this class tonight or catching the replay. So I am SBell, for those of you who don't know me, founder and owner of SBell Wellness, and I am super excited. We have a very loaded topic tonight about women's health and hormones. Some people say I'm an expert. I say I don't think so. I'm an expert at trying to figure it out for myself. And so I have a lot of information to share, both personally and things that I've learned along the way on this journey that I'm still on, and just learning to embrace it. And so I'm so excited to share that with you guys tonight. So it is a big topic, so grab a pen and paper, make sure that you are ready to kind of take some notes. We're going to talk a lot of different things that go on in our systems as well as products. And so when I talk about all these products, I don't want it to sound like you need all of these in order to address some of the things that might be going on for you. When we talk about these, they are kind of really choosing and picking which areas we want to focus in on where we're at in the journey. So you'll start to kind of figure that out for yourself. But first, I thought it would be good for us just to do a little breathing on purpose. So if you want to find your calm and your space, if you are able to plant your feet on the ground, that helps you kind of feel supported and grounded. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, you're welcome to do that. If you just want to kind of shift your gaze down, that's okay too. And just begin to notice where you might be holding some tension in your body. And just begin to breathe in through your nose. And then this time, let's actually purse our lips like you're breathing through a straw. And you might even make a little bit of a sound going out. And as you continue to do that, you should notice that the sound would start to sound like the ocean, or if you had a seashell up to your ear, what you would hear. If you start to sound like Darth Vader, then you're probably breathing a little bit too heavy. So we're breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. Just see if you can extend the breath out a little bit each time that you do it. Start to be aware of your body. If you're holding tension anywhere, maybe you can mindfully send your breath to that area of your body to release. And let's just set an intention for our class. So whatever it is that brought you here tonight, I hope that you were able to gather some information that'll be helpful for you, or maybe someone in your life that you are also supporting. And I invite you to just think about for a moment how you showed up for you tonight. So just honor that and know that we have to give ourselves a lot of grace for all the things that we might be noticing in our body and things that might be happening. Let's take 3 more breaths in and out. When you're ready, you can start to wiggle your toes and your fingers, start to bring your attention back to our shared space. Take a moment to honor how good it feels to take a moment to breathe on purpose. I think in the time that we're in right now, breathing on purpose is even more important to our physical health than it's ever been before. Because there are lots of things going on that maybe would be impacting our breathing. So I hope that you'll return to breathing on purpose throughout your days to support your wellness. All right, you guys, big topic, lots to touch on. And I hope that you're going to gather some information here that you feel empowered. Really, it's so much about tuning into our bodies and using our intuition. It really is. You start to really learn and listen to the signals that our body naturally is designed to send us. However, we're not always in tune with them. And so that's where we start to see all these things wreaking havoc. So awesome showing up for you. Let's dig in and talk about why would we even be talking about hormones in the first place? Well, our hormones are chemical messengers. They influence so much in our body, you guys. Temperature, heartbeat, blood sugar, fertility, mood, sleep, weight management, digestion, you name it, a hormone is probably involved in one way or another for all the things that are going on in our body. And so I want you to just take a moment. I invite you to kind of think about where you're at in your own wellness and consider your women's health. No matter where you are, age, cycle, not cycle, all of those things, just think about your health. And on a scale from 1 to 10, think about where you are with that. So maybe you're a 1 and there's nothing really unwanted showing up for you. You're feeling really good. Maybe you're a 10 and I call that OOC, out of control. Everything just seems out of whack. So kind of just for yourself, think about where you are with that, and that'll kind of help you start to be self-aware of what you're kind of thinking about your health. Do a little inventory. You might think about your cycle. If you're not currently in a cycle, then you might think of other areas that maybe perhaps hormones are impacting you. That might be thyroid issues, right? Either hyper or hypo. Maybe you've been told that you've had some thyroid issues. I'm going to dig into that in a little bit. Maybe it's adrenal fatigue. We're going to dig into adrenals. Maybe it's difficult with weight management. Maybe mood swings or irritability, trouble sleeping, infertility, maybe poor memory issues, just having that brain fog. Maybe you deal with type 2 diabetes. Maybe we're dealing with hot flashes or low libido, hair loss, water retention, digestive issues. All of these things can really be centered around our hormones. So we kind of, know how the female body works. We have our ovaries that secrete estrogen and progesterone, and those happen at certain times during our cycle are supposed to happen in a very effective way. But so many things happen to get off balance, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But one of the foundational things that I want to make sure is important that we're talking about is that we cannot outrun bad eating habits. And so as a nutritional health coach, I have to start there by saying, like, nutrition and hydration, they are going to have the biggest impact on our production of our hormones. So we really want to make sure we are tapping into that. I'm not going to talk about a specific diet to go into. For those of you who have been around for a bit, you know that I talk about a 90-10 eating style. It's really important for us to just crowd out those things that don't serve our body. And so 90% of the time we're eating what's our body responds well to. 10% of the time we are allowing ourselves to have those treats. And that way we're not feeling like we are depriving ourselves of anything, which ends up being that we're binging or going for those things too often that aren't serving our body. So that's what the 90-10 is about. We could go into tons of detail about that, but that's just a whole topic in and of itself. But I wanted to mention that tonight. And then I want to mention something that I personally am working on and finding already that it has some really great results. And so this is called In the Flow Eating. And so In the Flow, you guys, is a whole book written by Alisa Vitti. And you guys, the whole world revolves around this 24-hour cycle when our female body revolves around a 28-day cycle. And so we're already set up for struggle because of that. Because we're really just tapping into this circadian rhythms versus our infradian rhythms, our natural cyclical rhythm of the body. And so what Elisa does in this book is she really actually outlines like how even our productivity is different at different parts of our cycle. And if you're past a menstrual cycle, you could still be thinking about this in a cyclical way, a 28-day cycle, similar to the way that the moon phases happen. And so eating is a huge part of that. And so she has this whole outline of how to eat depending on where you are in your cycle. And it really just has to do with our body's ability to process those foods. It has to do with the temperature of food, the type of foods that we're doing. And for me, I'm already starting to see, I've only done this for one cycle, and it takes time to start to do that, right? I've already been eating for different patterns with, some food elimination and different things over time. And so now I'm learning some other things to, patterns to take, but I can't say enough about it. So, I definitely will continue to talk about it as I learn more and more, but I wanted to share that right here as we're talking about nutrition as a resource for you guys. And she has a website, there's an app that you can track your cycle, so it'll help you kind of see where you are if you need to try to figure that out. If maybe you've been or still are on birth control, you can use the phases of the cycle to kind of help you figure that piece out. So just wanted to mention that as we're talking about nutrition. And as we talk about nutrition, I'm going to start out talking about the foundational product with doTERRA that's going to really support that nutrition. Key for filling in those gaps of nutrition would be our Lifelong Vitality vitamins. So these vitamins, you guys, they are packed with vitamins and minerals, our antioxidants, our omegas, which are fatty acids that are key for healthy inflammatory in our body. And so you guys, if you're like me and you've taken vitamins in the past and you're like, why is she talking about vitamins? Vitamins don't work. They don't really do anything. You guys, that's what I thought. I thought that too, because I was taking vitamins that were on the market, were not bioavailable, meaning that they didn't absorb well in the body. And so I wasn't really finding a benefit from them. So I will be honest with you, I didn't start Lifelong Vitality until probably a year in with doTERRA, because I just had that mindset of vitamins weren't really something that helped. And then I learned a lot more about them and I really dug in, as you guys know I do. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I did it, and holy moly, why did I wait so long, right? So many changes in health. Our Microplex VMZ, you guys, that's going to be those vitamins and minerals that you need from a whole food complex. Your body's going to be able to break it down. It's going to fill in those gaps that you're missing from food. Even if you're eating well, the soil's so depleted of nutrients, you guys, our food is not giving us what we need. We've got to supplement. And then our ZEO omegas, those are your omegas, your fatty acids. We absolutely need those healthy fats, all right? There was this trend years ago about low-fat diets and how important they were, right? Well, they just added sugars in, actually, and then we started to think that fats are bad. We need healthy fats in our diet. These are so important for regulating our hormones, our brain health, our heart health, so many things that we need to tap into. All people, but especially women, need to be tapping into that. And then the last one is the alpha CRS. Those are your gentle antioxidants, those anti-inflammatories. You can kind of think about it as a gas pedal for your healthy energy. So you want to make sure that you have that complex at your foundation so that you can really support. Another supplement that's really good, and I'll be honest with you, I actually had not put it into my routine yet. I just put it on my order this month, is the bone nutrient. And it's really important for bone integrity, for the strength of our bones. Has a really good magnesium in there, vitamin D, calcium, zinc. We know those are all important for a healthy skeletal. Personally, the reason I didn't put it in there is I was kind of thinking about it more so from an age perspective. And the more I'm learning about this, it's really important to put it in early. Why wait for something to be happening with the body? before we put it in there. So putting it in there is really going to help that bone integrity, that strength, which is so key for women's health. All right, let's talk a little bit about estrogen some more. So estrogen is at different levels in our body, or should be healthy-wise, depending on where we are in our cycle. It's higher at the beginning of our cycle. It should be fading down as progesterone is increasing towards the end of the cycle. Why do things get out of whack? Well, they get out of whack because of things called xenoestrogen. Xenoestrogen, you guys, is a foreign imitator. It basically is a bully. It's pretending to be estrogen, and what it's doing is where the estrogen is supposed to bind to those cell receptors, it's actually beating estrogen to it, and it's wreaking havoc on our body. And so you're going to find these xenoestrogens in canned foods, farmed fish, tap water, plastics, factory farm animals. So you guys, when you've heard me talk about nutrition before and I talk about food and you're asking, like, really, does it matter what kind of cow I'm eating? Yes, it does. Factory farm animals are not good for our body. Poorly grown soy products. So, any of these GMOs, people ask me all the time, does it really matter? Yes, it does. We want to have non-GMO food because of this. Household cleaners. You guys, this was number one why I started using essential oils in the first place, was swapping out cleaners, because I was learning about how these estrogen disruptors were happening to my body. Sunscreens, making sure that we have sunscreens that don't have all this, these phthalates and parabens and BPAs and BCBs and all these things that wreak havoc. Pollution, which we don't always have control over that, but there are some things we can do to be mindful of that, right? Fragrance, you guys, can't say enough about this one. Fragrance is in so many products. We've got to read our labels. Pesticides, medications actually have these in there. Beauty products, personal care products, food dyes. Okay, so look at your labels. These FD&C, red number 3, we want to be avoiding these. So if you're, into your candies and those kind of things, just check those labels. You want to make sure that we're avoiding these things. Synthetic birth controls, those can be things that have these xenoestrogens in there that are just bullies. They're going after where our natural hormones are supposed to be binding and wreaking havoc. So these are things that we can start to avoid and just start to be more aware. Be a label reader, you guys. That was one of the biggest things that changed my life, is when I became a label reader. I joked in the beginning of my journey how if anyone followed me around in the grocery store, they would think I was absolutely crazy because I put everything back on the shelf until I learned what was coming in my cart. And now I can just, I don't even have to look at those things because I know what my things are. But yeah, it was funny. I always thought that I should have like one of those TV shows following me around to see that happening. All right, so you guys, doTERRA cleaned it up, right? So many ways to swap it out. Skincare, hair care, toothpaste, deodorant, lotions, cleaning products. Wipe it out. I was so able to do that, diffusing instead of candles and, plugins, just kicking that stuff out that had all of those hormone disruptors in it. And then what else can we do to support our body with that healthy estrogen? The phytoestrogen complex. So the phytoestrogen complex, you guys, it's not estrogen, so don't worry about that. Some people worry about that. I'm not supposed to be taking extra estrogen. It's not estrogen. Okay, it's genistein soy. So I talked earlier about, GMO soy and how you don't want to do that. It's not. It's non-GMO. It's fermented soy. It's grown very carefully and making sure that it's just the good stuff. So you've got the genistein soy in there. You've got flaxseed and pomegranate. These are going to be really healthy, you guys, for healthy breast tissue. It's going to help to balance our hormones. Men and women, actually. It's very helpful for the andro hormones as well for men. And it's really going to help to minimize some unwanted symptoms they might deal with during your cycle. It's really going to assist with just balancing and getting rid of those xenoestrogens I was just talking about, okay? It's going to go after those, they're estrogen metabolites is what they are. So it's going to go after those and be able to clean it up so that the real deal can bind and really start to balance in our body. So that's phytoestrogen, a way to kind of balance back from dealing with all of those things that we've had in our life before we knew better. All right, so let's talk some oils about it as far as balancing hormones. So rose oil, you guys. Rose oil is probably my top 5. It wasn't always. I didn't really know a lot about it until I started learning more. And it's so good for balancing our hormones, emotional support. You're going to apply it over your heart. It's really going to help you emotionally calm. If you're dealing with transition, it's a really good one. It's going to help boost libido. It's going to help you have this open confidence in what you're doing. Can help with menstrual discomfort, and really help to promote regular ovulation. And so even if you're not looking to get pregnant, it is still important to make sure that we are having that healthy cycle. And so rose is a way to do that. Rose oil, you guys, it is a precious oil, so it is going to have a higher price tag on it. Just some tips and tricks for that. Use your points to get your rose touch. doTERRA just recently announced that you're able to use your points to also get the 5 ml of rose. And so you can totally do that. And also you can get rose in the Precious Florals kit. So this is still available. This was the Mother's Day kit this year, but this is still available. You're going to get neroli and jasmine, rose, blue lotus, and magnolia. We'll talk about magnolia in a little bit for your adrenals. But this is a really great way to get these small little versions of these florals, which are so helpful for our hormones. Just another little tip to get rose in your life. Clary Calm. So Clary Calm, you guys, is the women's blend. Okay. You don't have to be on a cycle to use Clary Calm. It's going to help you, pre, peri, and postmenopausal. It's not diluted, you guys, so that's a trick too. You could split this in half, put it in another roller, and dilute it up with your fractionated coconut oil or jojoba oil, something like that, to make it last longer. Going to be really good for hormone balance, really great for heavy periods, premenstrual symptoms that you might have, cramps, hot flashes, mood swings. Tip for this is put it on the inside and outside of your ankle bones. Those are the reflex points for your female reproductive organs. So really great place to put that, as well as, of course, putting it over your lower abdomen. So that's the Clary Calm. It has in there, you guys, clary sage, lavender, bergamot, Roman chamomile, ylang ylang, which is another really awesome floral for hormones, cedarwood, geranium, fennel, which is our product of the month this month for July, which is awesome for hormone balance. I'm actually taking that one internally. There's carrot, palmarosa, and vitex. So all things awesome for balancing out our hormones. All right, let's dig in a little bit with some of the systems that really come into play with our hormones. So it's not just those female hormones. We really need to tap into some other things when we're thinking about this. So our endocrine system, you guys, there's lots of hormones going on, right? We've got brain things going on with our hypothalamus, pituitary, our pineal gland, thyroid, which was my big journey that I'll share a little bit about that in a moment. Pancreas, we've already talked about our ovaries. We've got the male hormones of the testicles. We've got our adrenals and pancreas that we're going to talk about. So these system of glands, you guys, they produce and they send hormones to all these targeted systems in our body through our circulatory system. Now, this is why essential oils work, because essential oils, you guys, they do the same thing. They are also circulated in that same way through our circulatory system. And so they're going to have a profound response on our cells because they encounter it in the same process that our hormones do. So they're going to have an impact on structure and function because of that. All right, let's talk about the liver. So the liver, you guys, is really honestly just like so underpinning for hormone balance because it filters everything. And that means it needs a lot of love, and love that we haven't been paying attention to because we just kind of automatically think it's happening. It was designed to do that. But it's often really overworked because of all of those things I was talking about, all of those, false things that happen with environment and food and all of these things. Our livers are really overworked. So, number one, water. Okay, water, 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 right? So drinking half your body weight in ounces of water is very helpful. You can add lemon in there. You can add Slim and Sassy in there, green mandarin, wild orange, tangerine, whatever your favorite citrus, or, switch it up a little bit. It's going to really help you drink more. And then it's also really cleansing for the body. Zendocrine complex, you guys, it's not one that I talked a whole ton about, but if you've been following the journey, I started using this one during the cleanse that I was on a little bit back. And this one, you guys, it's really going to be helpful for our lymphatic system. It's really going to help to cleanse. And so this detox blend has tangerine, rosemary, geranium, juniper, and cilantro. So you can take 1 or 2 of these soft gels 2 to 3 times a day if you're really trying to target that detox support. Zendocrine is also an oil. I tend to use that one in my detox baths because I really just love the fact that it's really going to bat to kind of help pull all of that out as we are taking those baths. Pancreas. So I talked about Slim and Sassy in your water. Why does Slim and Sassy work? Well, it's supporting our metabolism because of the ginger and peppermint. It's regulating our blood sugar because of the cinnamon, and it's actually helping us to release excess water. So if you think about like, oh my gosh, I'm drinking a lot of water, am I holding it, am I releasing it? Slim and Sassy is going to help you do that because of the lemon and the grapefruit. So maybe you don't like the Slim and Sassy flavor, go with lemon and grapefruit if you're really looking to try to get that excess water out. You can do 2 to 3 drops in a big, either stainless or glass container of water, 2 to 3 times a day, really help the pancreas support that we need. And then Slim and Sassy, there are soft gels too. So if you just don't like that, you could totally take the soft gels as well. All right, let's talk about the adrenals. This is kind of where I'm at, you guys, in my personal journey as I've been learning more about the adrenals more recently, because I've had some symptoms coming back that were things I was dealing with when we were really looking at my thyroid a little bit, with like kind of getting tired more often and some hair, falling out a little bit more, some of those things. And so I'm like, what's going on? So I've been digging into this. So if you're tired all the time, you're looking for chocolate, you're looking for coffee, you're looking for sugar, let's talk about your adrenals. So your adrenals are located right above your kidneys. So if you put your palms on your lower back, that's where your kidneys are, your adrenals are right above that. So that's where we could talk about some topical application for your adrenals. But why are the adrenals so important? Well, they're super related to thyroid function, and they are really important for energy and cortisol. So we need cortisol. We need it to be higher in the morning. We should be able to, getting this surge of cortisol in the morning from our adrenals, waking us up, getting us going. And we should be getting that going down and melatonin taking over at night. But that's not happening. Could be because your adrenals are fatigued. And our adrenals get fatigued because they are trying to pump so much cortisol to keep up with the stress, all the things we're trying to do, trying to stay up later. That's probably why I'm noticing it lately, because of this new life for the past few months of, oh, I could stay up later because I can get up later and, all that kind of thing. So it's probably why I'm noticing it. But that our body is telling us it's time to go to bed. And if we stay up past that, our adrenals are like, oh, you need me to pump more cortisol. And so that's what's happening. It's trying to pump more cortisol. And you guys, cortisol and progesterone are really linked. And so what happens if the adrenals are trying to pump more cortisol, it's stealing progesterone so that it can do that. And progesterone, you guys, is so important for anti-inflammatories. It's so important for normal cycles, especially towards that ender part of the cycle. And so we want to make sure that we're taking care of our adrenals, because that's looping back to our female reproductive system as well. So we can really start to calm our adrenals, and here's how. Grab your magnolia and apply it to your adrenals 2 times a day. So you might do that at lunchtime, and then you do that at like 8 or 9 p.m. as it's getting time for bed. And like I said, we get in bed at that first wave of sleepy. Otherwise, our body's gonna start pumping that cortisol. Backing it up before bed, if Mito2 Max, you guys, this is one that's gonna help our adrenals. So Mito2 Max is that mitochondrial energy. And so instead of having to pump that cortisol for energy, we're gonna be able to do this in a natural way. So Mito2 Max is this stamina supplement that you can take 2 times a day. You can take it when you wake up. You can take it for that afternoon slump. I will tell you that I've heard someone take it at bedtime, which sounds really weird if we're looking for energy. But she said when she noticed some of those, adrenal issues going on, where all of a sudden she's having this, taxing of her adrenals, feeling more stress, difficult sleeping, those kind of things, she actually noticed that taking one at bedtime was allowing that those cortisol levels to drop. So just a little trick to try. But why do we want that natural source? Well, it's not caffeine, so it's not going to impact our body in the way that caffeine will. It's going to help us have sustained focus. They've got adaptogenics in there from superfood mushrooms. And so those are really going to help our body get that natural energy that we need to be able to de-stress, but to keep up, to focus, do the things that we need without the stimulants. So that's how we're going to take care of our adrenals. Thyroid. So I talked about how the adrenals and the thyroids are very linked. I think that was a missing piece that someone wasn't telling me all along in my journey. And the power is there in natural solutions and learning and digging into this. So you guys, thyroid problems are not a life sentence, okay? There's so much hope, and I can attest to that. I had thyroid issues. We did lots of blood work and testing, and I don't know why you have these issues. Here's some medication. By the way, you're going to be on this medication for life. Yeah. Okay, so I did. I took the medication for a few years. Nothing was getting better other than my labs. I lost like the last half of my eyebrows. I got super puffy, all kinds of things, and it wasn't getting better. It was just keeping some lab work pretty balanced. So I tapped into my natural solutions. That's where Lifelong Vitality really came into play. DDR Prime, which is an essential oil blend that you can take internally through capsules, or you could buy the complex. I take it in the capsules. And then topically. So lemongrass and myrrh, those are my topical oils. You can also add in clove and frankincense. I put that over my thyroid 2 to 3 times a day. I have been off of medication for 2.5 years now. Labs are fine, and so many things are better because of just going after it and feeling empowered. And that's why I show up here to tell you guys, these are not life sentences that we're dealing with. It's just tuning into our body, a lot of grace, a lot of not getting so upset when you try something, it doesn't work, you try something else, you got to figure it out. But I definitely am very encouraged by that, and that's why I continue with this journey, because all of those things can happen. Let's see, you guys, I want to just talk about Yarrow Palm just because I think it's important. It's not talked a whole ton around the hormones, but I think it is important to mention because it has some really good, powerful benefits and some really good testimonies around it with hormones. So Yarrow Palm, I have used it mostly for my skin, to be completely honest, and have seen wonderful benefits from that. However, you can take Yarrow Palm internally, and it's really going to be optimal for metabolism function. It's really going to help to regulate our endocrine system. It's going to help to tone the nervous system, boost our immunity, and really go to bat for irregular cell growth. So want to make sure that we're taking this one internally if we are dealing with those things. And the testimony that I wanted to share was a story that I heard about someone who was having really extreme, painful, heavy, a lot of issues with cycles, lasting 7 or more days, and started taking it internally. Within 3 cycles, she was down to having a 4-day cycle, much more manageable. Hormonal acne was gone. So just so much power in knowing, you guys, that if we can find that right solution for us, or that, whichever targeted areas we need to go after, there's so much hope there, and it's so empowering to know that we can do that. So just wanted to share that testimony that I had recently heard. So where do we start? Oh my gosh, Shauna, you told me like a gazillion things, right? And I hesitated, you guys, as I was preparing, because I'm like, gosh, it's so much. But here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about what in those areas that I mentioned are you noticing? That's what's so important, you guys, is what are you noticing right now in your body? And maybe you're noticing all of them and you're still like, I don't know. Start with lifelong vitality, because that's going to be your foundation. I'd be happy to talk to you more about 90-10 eating and the flow eating, if that's something that you want to talk about. I definitely think that that's foundational. I wish that, oils and supplements were something that was magic without that, but we've got to have that foundation of nutrition too. So make sure that you're tapping into that. And then kind of, if you're just thinking women's health, like what is it going to be? I would recommend the phytoestrogen complex, because it's going to go to bat for those detoxing out those bullies, those xenoestrogens that are taken over from all of these, things that might have been in our body before we knew better, right? I mean, you guys, I was on birth control for 12 years, and I'm 9 years post that now. However, think about how much that impact that was having on my body, putting it in there, all the time. And there's different ways to do that. And I know that, sometimes we need that, and I'm not saying it's all bad, but there are different ways to kind of look at how to balance our cycle and to be aware of our cycle, so that maybe we don't actually need those products in our life. So I would say start there. Lifelong vitality, phytoestrogen. Think about those oils that you want to tap into, whether it's the clary calm, the rose, and then start to look at some of those other areas. When I talked about adrenals, is that you? When I talked about thyroid, are you noticing some of those things going on? Like the hair loss and the joint pain and, brain fog and tired all the time. Some of those things are going on for thyroid and adrenal issues. You can actually get the women's health products are in a bundle. So you could get the phytoestrogen, the bone nutrient, and the clary calm together. It's a women's health bundle. So sometimes that's a really good way. It's a significant cost savings that way. So I would say looking at that if you want to try those products. Lifelong vitality, of course, if you are getting those, you can get the Mito 2 Max as an add-on to that one. For a cost saving, so that's definitely a way to do that. I mentioned getting those, the precious florals, so that you could grab a, magnolia and rose that way. Fennel, you guys, is also really good for our hormone balancing, and that one is on promotion with your 125 LRP for July. So that's a really good way to add that in. Citrus oils, of course, you want to grab those. If you've been attending classes, you're getting a free citrus oil, so you're already going to be ahead of the game for that one this month. But reach out to me so that we can kind of talk about like where, you know, if you're not sure where to start, I'd be happy to kind of talk through where you're at in your journey for this. So you guys, listen up. I hope that you are believing in yourself. Tune into you. So some of us, I'll get emotional because some of us are carrying a heavy load around some of these things, but I invite you to dig in because you're going to figure it out and you're going to support you. And because of the journey that I've been on, I would love to be your guide and really, you know, go to bat to help you kind of figure out what this is for you at the foundation. And you guys, the foundation is that self-love, really tuning in, giving yourself grace, right? Sometimes we think we're doing these things and we're like, oh man, what happened, right? So giving ourselves grace and really letting the natural wonder of these solutions show up in our lives, because they will. You just got to stick with it. You know, it's not a one and done, it's a lifestyle. And so when you are able to embrace that lifestyle, you are really going to be able to feel so much better and have that lifelong vitality that we're all looking for and be well. So I hope that this was helpful information and not too overwhelming. Please reach out if you, you know, need to kind of individualize some of this for you. You can get my contact information over on sbellwellness.com. And I'd love to chat with you sometime about this for your personal journey. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you at a class sometime soon.